Across Africa, agriculture remains one of the continent's largest sectors, employing millions of people and feeding entire economies. Yet, despite the scale and potential, many agricultural systems still operate through fragmented networks, inconsistent pricing structures, delayed payments, weak logistics, and limited trust between farmers, buyers, and markets. But what happens when technology, infrastructure, and structured systems begin to reshape that reality? To help us unpack this conversation, we are joined by an exceptional guest. Our speaker today is Elohor Rita Ebieroma, co-founder of CUBESEED, a platform focused on transforming agricultural trade through a structured, technology-driven marketplace, connecting farmers directly to buyers while improving transparency, financing, and operational efficiency. Let's dive right into it. What is the story of CubeSeed?
Before CubeSeed, I worked across technology-driven businesses from Jumia to Empopa, where I saw firsthand on how structural and operational system and technologies it changed how the markets function as at today. So when I worked in Jumia and I worked in Empopa, I worked in Jumia when Jumia came into Nigeria. I was one of the first, I would say one of the first people to start to be one of the employees of Jumia. And I saw how things changed and things evolved around marketplaces, connecting distributors to the end users and building a market structure where people can easily buy and sell. And scaling it beyond just buying and selling into full distribution, into real estate management distribution, where people were meeting, not just where landlords were listing properties, where we had people looking for properties and able to connect with landlords, connect with real estate agents. So I've been in the system where I have seen that technology has driven things from inefficiency to an efficient system. And what put me into agriculture was realizing that it's the same coordination and trust problem across the agricultural trade today in Africa. Because where I was coming from, there was an inefficient system. Jumia came in, brought in a system that made the system more efficient in Nigeria. I worked in MCOP. I saw there was an inefficient system where we have a lot of undeserved communities trying to access technological devices that can help scale their businesses. So what drew me into CubeSeed is that same system is still in every part in Africa today. And agricultural trade is one of the systems that is inefficient. And every day people buy food, people eat, people wants to connect to farmers, people want to connect to sellers. And this structure that brings these people together is still not, there's no trust, there is no payment structure. We still have the middleman crisis. We still have a lot of things in between this trade, which still leaves it to be fragmented, which still leaves the system to really not desirable. And we have farmers losing production every day. We have buyers not able to connect with farmers, no transparent prices. And yeah, so these are the things that drew me to CubeSeed. It coming from this environment, and I've seen how technology has evolved this environment. Why can't we do the same in agricultural trade today? So my co-founders and I sat down together, drafted this based on my co-founder, my CEO is a farmer and he has experienced this firsthand. We came in together with different experiences on how to ensure that we are going to put structure into the agricultural trade today.
For many people outside the industry, agriculture simply looks like buying and selling food products. But from your perspective, what are the deeper structural problems? You've mentioned some of them that are affecting agricultural trade across Africa today.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. For many people, like you said, people think agricultural problem is just about farming, it's just about production. But the deeper pain in agriculture is distribution. A farmer can produce today, a farmer can rear animals today, a farmer can produce crops today. And where will the offtake come from? The offtake can either come from a buyer reaching out to the farmers directly and saying, okay, I want this produce. Them reaching out to the farmer, that's why there's a trust layer. because it's either the buyer is someone the farmer can trust to release their goods to and be sure that they're going to get back their money, or it's either the buyer can trust the farmer that whatever goods they're going to be getting from the farmer is in the right quality. So, and first layer, because it's broken today in agricultural trade, that's where the middlemen come in and exploits the system. So the middlemen come in to exploit the system by going to the farmers directly, collecting the produce, because the farmers are like, oh, we have 1,000 beds, we have 2,000 beds, we have 3,000 beds, and nobody's coming for them because the buyers are scared to trade directly with the farmers because of that trust layer. The middleman goes in and says, okay, I will take your production. I'll take your produce for some mere amount of money. Not even enough for them to even go into another circle. But because they are looking to sell, they give it to the middleman. The middleman takes it, process it, and take it to it's a bed. They process it themselves. It's not a bed, it is a frozen item. They pick the frozen item from the farmers, the sellers, and take it into the market. The sellers outrageous prices to the buyers. So the buyer like, okay, I'd rather just buy from the middleman because there is a trust problem. It's just dealing directly with the seller. The farmers and the seller, oh, I'd rather just give it to the middleman because there's a trust problem dealing directly with the buyer. So the trust layer is a very big problem in agricultural trade today. There is no structure. There is no distribution structure. There is no payment structure. There is no reliability structure. And that is the problem we have in agricultural trade today.
Yeah. I think that's such an important point because many people see agriculture only at the surface level. But I think underneath there are issues around trust, as you've mentioned, and market coordination. Yeah. So the title of today's conversation is From Informal Markets to Structured Trade. For someone watching this live stream right now, how would you define informal agricultural trade in Africa?
How would I define that?
Yeah,
Give me a second.
it's okay.
So I say informal trade in Africa today, like I've just explained, is the problem, like I said earlier, is not production. The informal trade is still done by farmers and the middlemen connecting farmers and buyers together. That is the informal structure in trade in Nigeria, in Africa today, not just Nigeria. There is no coordination around payments. That is still an informal trade. There is no coordination around quality. That is an informal trade. There is no coordination around reliability. That's an informal trade. A buyer can reach out to a farmer directly and say, I want to turn a particular frozen food, frozen protein, this period of time. And because the buyers are not willing to drop the amount of money to the seller or the farmer because they're scared of dropping the money, the next thing the farmers can decide to, okay, would I deliver, would I not deliver, or deliver on low quality? So there is no system that connects these trades. So we still operated the informal, like by calls, by phone calls, by the middlemen going into the farmers, collecting the produce and finding the buyers and going to the buyers to sell this produce. There is no systems that says that, oh, we will collect the money on your behalf. We'll make sure we stand between the farmer and the buyer to ensure that the farmer will get their money after delivery or fulfillment, or the buyer will get their produce in the right quality or in the right time they require the use. So the informal trade is what we still speak about, the trust layer. There's no trust. So everything is still coordinated through calls, WhatsApp communities. Oh, I have this produce somewhere. Come pick it up and help me find a buyer. My dad and my mom, when they retired, they got, the way African produce today. After retirement is, oh, let me go back into farming. And that's what I did. When they retired, they said, oh, I'm going back into farming. Because we live in the city, they got a land in the city and decided to start farming. And when they were farming, the problem they had was there was production, but there were no buyers that were coming directly to pick up from them. And they will call and they'll say that maybe the buyers will promise them, oh, I'm coming tomorrow. I'm coming tomorrow. I'm coming tomorrow. Just keep it down from coming tomorrow. We don't see them tomorrow. When the buyers come and say, okay, bring the goods, bring the produce, bring the vegetables, I would come back and I'll bring back your money. We don't see the people. They go, they sell out the produce, and they walk away with money. And that is where the informal trade and structure is in right now in Africa. Yeah, you can go on, Nicole.
No, it's fine. You've spoken about the issues. How do these problems directly affect the farmers and buyers on the ground? You have spoken about issues like delayed payments and the middlemen as well, distorting the agricultural markets. So, how does this problem affect you?
That's why CUBESEED is bringing system that can ensure that these problems are highlighted. We are taking off the problem. We are taking off this problem from the society today. We're taking off this problem from Africa today, making sure that we're bringing a system where farmers can trust the buyers in the system and buyers can trust the farmers in the system today. We are bringing a system where buyers are confident enough to put their money in escrow to be sure that the farmers are going to deliver. The farmers are confident to know that the buyers have paid for these goods upfront and they are going into production to deliver to the buyers. And the buyers are also confident that when they receive the produce, they are able to identify that this is of good quality before releasing the money to the seller. It's ensuring that everything that has to do with the informal trade and agricultural trade system, we're taking it up. What we're introducing is a system that will ensure that it's not just about connecting the farmers, like I said, ensuring reliability, ensuring fulfillment, ensuring that their payments are protected, ensuring that even as a buyer, they're able to access credits to buy from the farmers. And even as a farmers, you're also able to access credits to go into and make production. Because one of the things in Africa today is about credits. And most of these banks don't even trust the farmers. And most of these banks don't even trust the bulk buyer themselves. So that's one of the systems we're introducing today to reduce the informal trade in agricultural markets today.
As we dive into CUBESEED, one thing that stands out about it is the focus on contract-driven and secure transactions. So why is structure and accountability so important when building agricultural marketplaces?
Okay, like I said earlier on, the problem in agricultural trade has never been production. People are buying, people are selling, people are getting food produces, people are getting so many things, but there is still a pain within agriculture. There's still a pain for the farmers and there's still a pain for the buyers. So what CUBESEED is bringing into the system is a system that is going to take off this pain from both the buyers and both the sellers. Like I said, it's not just about a system that introduces a buyer and a seller together. It's a system that will ensure that we are building a technology-driven system that would ensure that there is reliable transactions, that will ensure that these farmers can have access to credits. There's transparent pricing. There is no middlemen. The middlemen go out there, collect the produce from the farmers, go into the market and sell at outrageous prices. You go to the market today, you want to buy beef, you want to buy meat, you could buy it 5,000 naira tomorrow, you could buy it 10,000 naira tomorrow. And that is because there is no coordination. CUBESEED is changing the way agricultural system should be in Africa and across the world. Let there be a system that is regulated. Let there be a system that will ensure that people can eat and people can enjoy supplies. That's what this CUBESEED is doing.
Yeah, that is well said. I think this is where the conversation becomes really powerful because we start seeing agriculture not just as farming, but as infrastructure, systems, logistics, finance, and technology. Africa's population is growing rapidly and the food demand is increasing across the continent. Do you believe Africa can become a global agricultural powerhouse?
Yes, I believe. And you can see so many people trying to access African produce, not just African produce. Even the white people try to access things as nuts. They try to access things as our vegetables, our ginger, our garlic, different agricultural produce. They try to come to access them from Africa. If there's a structure behind it that can make people trust farmers to deliver, or farmers can trust buyers to make payment for their produce, or a structure that ensures that there's reliability, the quality they're getting is right, a structure that defines the way trade should be, which CUBESEED is introducing. So right now, one of the things that can even ensure that we scale more than the way we're supposed to scale is ensuring that governments are backing up the agricultural system. And that is one of the things CubeSeed is trying to ensure. They can only back the agricultural system if they see a structure in it. If there's a structure in this system and they can see it, they'll probably do more than what they're currently doing. Because if you go to a typical farmer today and tell them that, what's your problem? Aside production, aside them finding buyers and after production, they will tell you that, oh, after delivering to a particular buyer, I had to wait for them to give me back my money, for me to be able to go back into production. And sometimes during production, there are issues that arise during production. It's not even about the financial part. It's about training this farmer, giving them quick resources for them to reduce the mortality rate in their farm, providing doctors that can actually go out there to ensure that the farm production is in the right quality.
Yeah. I believe CubeSeed is doing a really good job. Let's dive into the personal insights. What has been one of the toughest lessons you've learned while building CubeSeed?
When we were building CubeSeed, it was more about connecting farmers and buyers together. And we had this problem that we had faced in our first phase about the middlemen taking up our money and taking us to ground zero. So one of the challenges is about will the farmers and the sellers trust us enough to protect their payments? That was like our major challenge.
I believe trust is earned, and I think in a company like yours, it depends on how old you are. How many years in CubeSeed?
Yes, it was about 2 years now. Our first rollout was basically in 2024. We went back to draw our systems to make it better for the markets. So the first part of the learning ground was now we're back into the market fully. And yeah, you're providing that trust there for both the farmers and both the buyers.
Wow, I love the way you put it. What keeps you motivated despite the challenges?
I know one of the major things for any startups is tractions, is revenue, is in getting people to trust your system. And once you're able to get that trust, you're good to go. When I worked in Copra, I saw how the market was. I saw that there was a gap. The gap is on the bank communities assessing finance products. And when we were able to breach that gap, the attractions grew more than what it is today from where Mcopa started. So as a startup, come to realize that you just have to be ready to this period of you moving from year to year. It could take 2 years, it could take 5 years, but you have to be ready that whatever structure you're delivering, you're meeting the users where they are. You're ensuring that you're building structures based on who they are, not because of where you think they should be.
Yeah.
Structures based on, okay, this is a problem they are facing. Let me come and see how my structure can ensure that it moves from point A to point B. So one of the things you probably face as an any founder is trust, to be very honest. Because you can't me and say, oh, come and take my product. You need people to trust you no matter the product you build today. If you don't meet people where they are and where they can trust your products, or you're not building the product based on what is the current problem or what is the current challenge, you're building the product based on fiction, you would not scale. You have to make sure that you're going to the lowest of the lowest and taking them from the lowest of the lowest to the highest of the highest.
Wow, that's well said. How do you gauge the trust level? Do you acquire feedback from your customers, or how do you gauge this trust level from the buyers?
It's most of, like I said, feedbacks, and not just feedbacks, is based on your, it's not just about feedbacks, it's based on when you go out there today and you talk to these farmers or you talk to these sellers and you listen to them and that, oh, you're building a system or you built a system that is taking away the pain from them. That is when you gauge the trust level.
If you could change one thing immediately within Africa's agricultural ecosystem, what would it be?
Informal trade, we're taking that off the market. We're building a system where there will be reliable transaction. We're building a system where, and it's not just a system, it's an infrastructure where we're removing the floating prices, where we're making sure that there is a trust in every transaction, every single transaction. And that is the thing for most of the farmers today.
What advice would you give to young founders building solutions for Africa like the way CubeSeed is doing?
Just meet users where they are. Meet people where they are. Don't build based on fictional facts. Build based on people's pain. What are they? What are the major challenges in the society today? What can you change in the undeserved communities today? What can you ensure that you are bringing into the undeserved communities today? How can you make payments easier? How can you ensure that someone that probably cannot read or write can easily make transactions? What to ensure that you're meeting people where they are, not building products on fictional story, building products that you are aware that probably will not scale because you just want to be a founder. If you're able to meet people where they are, that's where scale comes from.
Yeah, that's really well put. I think people should get something from that. We are coming into audience engagement session. Thank you so much for this insight, Elohor.
Recall and last some few follow-up questions. The first one I want you to ask about how is CUBESEED helping farmers when it comes to the marketing?
So CUBESEED is not just about focus on the farmers. CUBESEED is also focused on the bulk buyers. We're also pushing our marketing strategies that can ensure that the bulk buyers can trust our platform to make this trade successfully. So we're also helping the farmers to find these buyers. Like my mom would say, there's always money in food business because people are eating every day. So no matter how many retail outlets we have, they're selling, it will still sell. And with this, we're also empowering the farmer to make more production because there's markets for them. We are currently working on systems that would ensure that this is going to be not just Nigeria, it's not just going to be Africa. We're able to scale across other communities, but we need to know about their needs. We need to solve the problem here first before we say want to solve the problem internationally, because we have a major problem in Africa, which is the informal trade. Well, even the formal sector, they also have the issue. They have the problem. We've had businesses that we believe that they never had issues in getting produce, reaching out to us and saying, CUBESEED, please ensure that our produce are delivered. CUBESEED, connect us with farmers that will get produce. CUBESEED, connect us with processors that will process our beds. We've seen that firsthand in just few months. So it's not just about the informal trade, and we're also looking to scale across Africa, but we need to solve the problem first in Africa.
Oh, yeah.
We are currently we're currently in the position of not planning to raise, but we are aggressively trying to raise.
So there is a question here. It's a build-up. So as the business scales up, especially CUBESEED, you get that you will start having a lot of data, especially from the farmers and the yield productions and everything about them, their pricing and their logistics. Then at the end of it all, there'll be other people that will be involved in it. So you will find that you can have the government coming in, CUBESEED being in as the private people, and also there'll be investors coming in. So how will you ensure that this data is protected in such a way that it does not become a new form of inequality, whereby the person who controls that data infrastructure ends up controlling the entire agricultural value chain?
That's a very strong one. When CUBESEED was trying to work with the government institution we are currently working with, one of the things they required was data. And we had to ensure that there is a protection for our farmers and our cooperatives. We have to ensure that we are not just releasing this data. There is a data privacy they have to sign to ensure that even CUBESEED owns the data, CUBESEED is providing the data. We know we are providing the data based on the program the government is currently running, and they need the data. So we had to make sure that there are some privacy documents to ensure that it doesn't become an inequality data. CUBESEED still owns the data, CUBESEED still owns the users, CUBESEED still owns the customers. But however, we are providing them access more than what CUBESEED can provide. We are taking them to a different level where governments can use the information to ensure that they are able to give them the financial access they have promised them. And the data we're giving to them is not data that will compromise the farmers.
So supposedly down the road, you become publicly listed. How will you still protect that data?
As an organization, you still have to protect your users' data. It's in your interest to protect your users' data. either as a public organization or a private organization. So it's very important that you follow the data laws and ensure that you have following systems that ensure that your user data are protected.
Yeah.
Because even public or a private, you still need to protect the data of your users, your customers.
All right. I think that answers the question.
Any final question for Elohor? So we wrap up this conversation. All right. I don't think there's any other question. Thank you so much for joining us today, Elohor, and for sharing such powerful insights with our audience. This conversation has been very incredibly eye-opening personally, and I believe for everyone here. And it's important because it reminds us that Africa's agriculture future is not just about producing more, it's about building systems that are transparent, scalable, sustainable, and economically empowering. And to everyone who tuned in today, thank you for being part of this conversation.